in recent years, owning a car has gotten expensive, really expensive.
With affordability being such an issue in the industry, our passenger cars have done really well.
Car payments have reached record highs in recent years, and Americans are feeling the pinch.
Outside of purchasing your first home, a new car or an auto is the second largest purchase for most people. Given the transaction prices and vehicle prices today, financing is required to buy these vehicles.
Over the last 3 years, we've seen the biggest car price increases in history.
What's up, fellas? So there's obviously been a ton of noise around how expensive cars have gotten. You've seen the Reddit posts, you've seen the headlines, you've seen the CNBC clips, and you've probably felt it or seen it at the dealership. And look, to be honest, I feel the same way. So instead of just going with general consensus on the matter, I decided to dig into the numbers a little bit, and what I found is actually pretty interesting. I started by pulling original MSRPs from a base year, say 1988, 1994, etc., of a specific model car, adjust that value for inflation to see what the current value should be, and then finally looked at each car as a percentage of median income of that given year. That last metric, percentage of median income, is the one that I really want to pay attention to because it cuts through a lot of the noise and really is able to show us exactly how much purchasing power we actually have for these vehicles against what their costs were, say, 30 years ago. And it makes a big difference, considering a car that costs $40,000 is a much bigger ask when the median income is $30,000 versus a car that costs $40,000 when the median income is $80,000. You see how that would be a big deal. Anyways, I looked at 8 cars across 2 buckets, one being more sporty enthusiast cars and another being daily commuters that everybody would buy. And what I found was not what I expected. So stick around and let's get into it. Okay, real quick, before we actually get into the cars, I just want to run you through the methodology that I used. Let me know in the comments if you think this methodology makes sense. But basically, I take 3 numbers for every car. Number 1 is the original MSRP of the base year that I'm comparing to. Number 2 is the inflation adjusted cost of that vehicle. And number 3, the big one, is the percentage of median income of that given year. So just to explain how that works, if a car costs $32,000 and the median income of the year is $32,000, that would have a 100% cost of median income. Or if it's a $16,000 car and the median income is $32,000, that would be taking up 50% of median income. So about a half a year's worth of salary to afford that car. Now, keep this number in mind, and I'll put it somewhere in the top corner just so it's always around. The current median income today in 2026 is $83,730. So that will be our benchmark for everything else to come. All right, enthusiast cars first. Starting out with the Mark IV Supra, the legendary 2JZ, Fast and Furious, Brian O'Connor's orange 10-second car. We all know it, we all love it. The attainable Japanese sports car. But funny story, it really wasn't that attainable in the 90s. It was actually really expensive. In 1994, a Turbo Supra cost $42,800, with a lot of transactions going upwards of $50,000. The median household income at the time in 1994 was a little over $32,000. That means in 1994, the Toyota Supra cost 132% of the average American median income at the time. Adjust that value for inflation, and the Supra today should cost over $97,000. But the current GR Supra goes for around $70,000. And if you're following the math here, $70,000 in comparison to the current median income of almost $84,000 is only 84% of household income, which means that the Supra has gotten significantly cheaper, both in real terms from an inflation perspective and in terms of purchasing power. Same story with the M3. When we look at the E30 M3 in 1988, the car cost $35,000. Median income in 88 is $27,000. That's 129% of the average American household. M3 today is about 80 grand. Still obviously very expensive, but only 96% of median income. Only, as if that's not. You get the point. It's cheaper. Corvette is another one. Not quite as big of a dip, but in 1994, the C4 sold at 112% of total income. Today, C8, 101% of total income. The WRX is one where the story gets really interesting for enthusiasts, where back in 2002, the first of generation to make its way to America sold at about 59% of the median income, with a $25,000 MSRP on about a $42,000 American median income. Today, the MSRP of the WRX is like $35,000. Compare that to nearly $84,000 in median income, you're only looking at 42%, so 59% down to 42%. The Mustang GT is really the only one that I found that increased, and it didn't increase by a whole lot. However, in 1994, it took up roughly 55% of median income to afford a Mustang. Today, it's around 59%. All right, so that's the enthusiast side, sort of the sports cars, the, enthusiast-focused vehicles. What about just regular traffic? What about your regular run-of-the-mill cars? How about the Civic? Well, 43% in 1994, 35% today. And once again, inflation adjusted, the Civic should cost around $31,000, where it currently sits at around $28,000. Then we have the Camry, which I think is one of the more interesting data points, because back in 1994, the Camry took up 68% of median income, which to me feels really high. That feels like a luxury car. But today it's only 41%, so a massive drop from almost 70% of median income down to now only costing 41% of median income. That's a big deal for a car that is going to be so widely purchased in America. And finally, I looked at the 3 Series, so compared a 325i in 1994 to a 330i today. 1994, the 325 ate up 96% of median income. Today, the 330, 59% of median income. That's really cool because the entry-level luxury car that everyone aspires to buy has suddenly gotten 40% more accessible relative to wages in 30 years. Okay, so the data is pretty clear. Across all the vehicles we looked at outside of the Mustang GT, the inflation-adjusted price today is lower, and our purchasing power is greater from a percent of median income perspective. Cars have, by these measures, gotten more affordable over the past 30 years, not less. So then why does everybody feel so broke at the dealership? Why does it seem like prices are through the roof? Why do we have Reddit threads with 50,000 likes complaining about the unaffordability of vehicles? Because frankly, both things are kind of true. Here's how. First is how people actually buy cars. Nobody really walks into a dealership and pays cash for a vehicle. They look at monthly payments. They're likely going to finance it. And when loan terms have moved from 48 months in the 90s to 60, 72, 84, 96, 108, that monthly payment gets normalized, even though, interest included, the total cost of the vehicle is going way up. You're no longer comparing $36,000 to $14,000, you're comparing $500 to $280. And while the 280 number feels smaller, because, it literally is, you're actually paying a lot more due to all the interest accumulation over that longer length of loan that you've took on. Second, cars don't exist in a vacuum. You're not just buying a car, you're buying a car in the same economy where your rent has gone up 30%, and the average house in one of America's cities costs $500,000, if not more, and where daycare is $1,400, $1,500, $2,000, $2,200 a month, depending on where you live. Your income may be keeping pace and even outpacing vehicles, but it is getting absolutely bodied everywhere else. So even if the car itself is technically more affordable on a real wages perspective, the slice of your paycheck that is going to a vehicle is smaller than it's ever been because you're just getting eaten up in all these other areas of your life. 3, the sticker price simply isn't inclusive of the total cost of the vehicle. You have insurance, which has gone completely haywire in the past few years, up like 40-50% since 2020. You're paying interest, and if you financed recently, you could be paying 7, 8, 9, 10% interest on a vehicle with an extremely long loan term, and if you look at how loans work, now the total cost that you're paying is actually far more than that sticker price. On top of this, you have maintenance, you have gas, you have oil changes, tires, brakes, etc. The total cost of ownership on a vehicle is substantially higher than just the total MSRP cost of the car. And none of that is really included in this inflation adjusted and percent of median income analysis, which is a real limitation of the analysis, so just wanted to put that out there. And fourth, and I think this is a big one, is trucks and SUVs. This is where the picture really starts to come together. I kept these out of the main analysis because they sort of follow their own storyline here. Let's start with the F-150, comparing a base F-150 XLT in 1994 to now a base XLT. In 1994, it was roughly 58% of median income. Today, it's roughly 57% of median income. So pretty flat. But the thing is, nobody really buys the base version of the Ford F-150. That percent of income is assuming the base price of about $48,000. But the average transaction cost of an F-150 is right around $62,000. That's 74% of median income. And that's not even mentioning that the average monthly payment of the F-150 is $900 a month. Let's look at the Suburban. The Suburban in 1994 is a big utilitarian family hauler, about 66% of median income at the time. Today, the base Suburban starts at $59,000. That alone already in base form is 71% of median income. And that's if you get the base, if you get in on the floor. And who's doing that? By the time you're in a real world trim, you're looking at $65,000, $75,000, $80,000, up to $100,000 for a Suburban. I mean, look at these things. Like, who's buying this? Who actually wants this? I mean, these are all the top vehicles when you just type in Chevy Suburban. Like, look at that, dude. Oh, $2,300 off, thanks. $98,000 for a Suburban. But it do got that 6.2 liter V8, brother. I don't hate it because of that. So let's tie this all in with a big macro picture. In 1994, the average transaction cost of a new vehicle was right around $18,000, roughly 55% of income. Today, the average transaction cost of a vehicle is right around $50,000, or 60% of median income. Not a huge jump, but again, not insignificant. But that average is doing a lot to hide what's actually going on. As we've shown, the cars we've analyzed have gotten significantly cheaper, like the Civic, the Camry, the WRX, the M3, the Supra. Meanwhile, trucks and SUVs, which now make up 75% of the American market, have gotten significantly more expensive and are pulling that average up. The people buying Civics and Camrys are in pretty good shape, but the people buying trucks, which is a lot of people, are feeling it. So here's where I land on this. If you make median income or a little above, and you're buying a car that exists in roughly the same form that it existed 30 years ago, say like a Camry or a Civic, or a sports sedan or luxury entry-level luxury sedan, it's almost certain that it is more affordable today relative to your income than it was 30 years ago. However, the feeling of unaffordability is still real. It's not made up. It's coming from a few real places. Insurance and interest that don't show up in any MSRP comparison. In an economy where your paycheck is getting eaten alive by housing costs and daycare and everything else before you even think about a car payment. And the fact that most Americans aren't even buying the Civics and the Camrys anymore. Most Americans are buying trucks and SUVs, which have turned into premium products. And that's where the math really stops working in your favor. Moral of the story, buy a sedan. So, honest answer to the question in the title, it depends. If you're buying a sedan, no, it's not that expensive. It's probably cheaper. But if you're buying a truck, I got some news for you. Yeah, it's probably not looking good, bruv. So, anyways, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys think about the video and the analysis. Like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you in the next one. Peace, y'all. See ya. Bye.